So I wanted to start with Ariana because we know where you are now, but I wanted to know a little bit about your journey before the whole Mercy thing happened. So you're celebrating 15 years.
Yep.
Early September. How did Mercy all come about? What's the story behind it?
Oh, well, it's a really good story. It's, people who do what I do for a living tend to have a reason why they do that. So for me, Mercy was something I'd heard about. Nancy Alcorn, the president and founder of Mercy in America, came to speak at my church probably 20 years ago now. And it really, really impacted me in a way that I just felt like somehow I wanted to be part of something like that. I wanted my life to count. I wanted to make a difference in the world. And little did I know that when I heard her speak about a home for young women, and I prayed a prayer of, Lord, if I can be involved in something like this, then let it be so. Little did I know that the first young woman I would ever help would be my own sister. Little did I know that the first home I would ever open would be my own home. And so it wasn't long after I heard Nancy speak that I had a phone call from my mother to say, we just don't know what to do anymore. My sister Debbie was 15 at the time, and for the 3 years prior to that, she'd been in a really bad way. We, as Christians, didn't really have a reference for what her behaviour was. We kind of put it down to rebellion, getting in with the wrong crowd, not wanting to go to church anymore, not living her life in the way that she'd been raised by my parents to live her life. We didn't realise that the symptoms of her behaviour were actually the symptoms of abuse. So she came to live with me and my husband for 3 years, and it was in that season of living with us that I saw what was behind all of those behaviours, and it really motivated me to become part of building something like Mercy here in the UK. My sister ended up going, I'm doing it really short because this is a really long story. I've written a book about this, so I'm doing it really short. My sister ended up being the first young woman from the UK to be accepted onto the programme in America, way back 20 years ago now, and then she graduated about 8 months later.
In America?
In America, yeah. We didn't have anything here yet. And when she came back and I saw the transformation in her life, I realised that Mercy wasn't just a good idea, it was a God idea, and that Mercy was a very, very special place. And we just, really committed to getting something similar set up here, and so we did. And there's lots of miracles involved in that journey.
So
we don't have time for that.
So presumably, Debbie wanted to change, because otherwise you couldn't have just shipped her off to America and go in there.
Yeah, no. I gave her Nancy's book, actually, a book called Echoes of Mercy, which is every chapter is another resident's story of her journey. And Debbie read it, and she knew when she read that book that she'd end up in a place like in Mercy. Actually, she knew it needed to be Mercy, but she did have to go on her own slight spiral downwards for a while, which is a really hard thing to watch. If anyone out there who's got someone they love who is on a downward spiral, that is a really, really tough place to be, because there's nothing you can do. And people do have to get to a place in their lives where they're ready for change, they're motivated for change, they're committed to doing what it takes to be well, and Debbie needed to go on that journey, and she did get there, and when she got there, she was the one who picked up the phone and asked for help for Mercy to be accepting her on the programme, and she did the application herself, and so that's where people need to get to, is like, I need, and what you tolerate you don't change. So if you're tolerating how your life is, it's not going to change.
I was just about to say, because people I know who have suffered with addiction, you can do everything to try and get them off. You can do everything, but if they don't want to, they'll just sneak off to the local shop and they'll get that booze. They'll go off to the dealer and they'll get that. You can try and lock them in the house, but they will eventually get out of the house and it will happen. So it's all about that individual wanting to change. So you had this going on with your sister. She came back from America, and then the idea of setting up Mercy in the UK, how did that happen? Because presumably you didn't have any resources to start that off with.
No, I mean, there was a team of us. It wasn't just me on my own. There was an amazing team of people. We were all in the same church, and we formed a group who would just pray, and we were the Mercy team. And we had 5 years. I mean, people think these things just happen. They don't just happen. 5 years of praying, of believing, of trying to plan something that we had no idea how to plan. 5 years of, trying to figure out a way to start something as big as that. You need a house to run a home for young women. You need a house. None of us had a spare house lying around. So it was a tough journey, and lots of people came and went. And then suddenly, Nancy was back speaking at a women's conference, and somebody in that crowd heard Nancy speak and went up to Nancy and said, I think I can help you. I am a trustee of a Christian trust fund, and I think I can help the UK team with a home. And so it wasn't even me who went and did the presentation. It was 2 other people on the team who went and presented to this trust fund, and the next thing we know, we've been given money to go and buy a house, and that's when all systems go.
And what's really amazing is that if you keep an eye on the Mercy UK socials, you will see now and again videos and images of what the house was like before you guys got it to where it is now. And even that in itself, it was a long process, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we it was 18 months from the day we got the keys to the house to opening for young women to step into the home was 18 months. And it'd been lived in by a family for many years. They'd raised their children there. It wasn't in any way, shape or form suitable for 15 young women to be in. So it needed so much work doing to it. We had volunteers. We had a team of 50 volunteers from all around the area who we had what ended up being called in the local newspaper a stripping party.
Oh no. I can imagine the sort of pictures, how they were twisted and how they tried to make something rude of it.
We were just stripping wallpaper off the walls, but it was the stripping party.
So looking back now, because as we said at the start of this, it will be 15 years in September. What would you say to anybody who's got a project on their heart right now? They feel passionate about maybe helping the homeless, maybe helping other vulnerable people. What would you say to them where they're hearing this and they're thinking, the dream's in my heart, the passion's there, but I've not got anything to do with it? How did they start it? What did they do?
I think, first of all, be patient. Don't do it on your own. It requires so many people to be part of it. If you think you're going to pull this off by yourself, it's never going to happen. You need to be, like I said, it wasn't me that started Mercy. It was a good team of people who were prepared to go over and above and give of their own time and energy. And I would say you need to be very clear about what it is that you want to achieve. And then you wait for the miracle. Because if this is a God idea, and for me it was, and I'm not saying that everybody who's got a vision or wants to set something up it's a God thing, because it might not be, you might not even believe in God, but for me as a believer, for me it had to be a God thing. And this is so far outside of what any human being could actually achieve. We needed to have the miracle aspect and the divine intervention, and until we had that divine intervention, I don't know if we'd have ever got to where we are now.
And what have been some of the difficulties? Because every organisation, every company, every individual, in fact, they have those difficulties. But I know that we've chatted about this previously, where you learn more from the difficulties than you do when it all goes well. So in that 15 years, has there been any times when you've gone, actually, if we don't have this breakthrough now, the whole ministry could collapse?
Yeah, pretty much every day. I don't think do you know what? When you're involved in something that is as miraculous as Mercy, like I said, this is not people with a good idea. Putting people's hearts back together again, the shattered, broken pieces of people's lives is not humanly possible. It has to have God at the centre of it. Jesus is very much the centre of what we do at Mercy. When you're that far out of your comfort zone, when nothing you can do can achieve the end result, you end up being very used to the times where you have to just believe and trust. So in answer to your question, finances, because we provide everything we do in the home free of charge. It costs around 20 grand for a resident to go through, and that's like quite a conservative estimate. And we need to raise that. So finances have been a huge issue, figuring out how this is going to happen. And for 15 years, we have seen miracle after miracle in our finances. We give 10% of every unrestricted donation away. We don't charge, and we don't take any government funding that's got strings attached. That is the craziest business plan in the world. Like, that should not work. Who does that? Who doesn't charge for their service, gives their money away, and is fussy about where their money comes from in the first place? That's ridiculous. And yet here we are, 15 years, and we are seeing our finances and their needs being met time and time again. And then the other challenge is just people.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because when you're involved in an organisation, the great thing about the human race is we're all so different. God gives us all different talents. Some people are really good at being at the front of things, hosting stuff, and other people, they can't do their job if they aren't at the front. But then the people at the front, they can't do their job if you haven't got the accountants, you haven't got the people who are great at organising. And like here, we've got so many people who help us out, sorting out the finances, making sure that the invoices go out at the right time, and all that sort of stuff. And it's really interesting. So you're celebrating 15 years and we're going to be there. We're really looking forward to it. And I wonder if you could just share with us, so you touched upon the finances there roughly. It's £20,000 from start to finish.
For a resident to go through the programme, yes, roughly. And it depends on things like how long does she stay. So if she stays for the sort of 7-ish months, it's about that. If she stays longer, then obviously it's more.
And how many people do you think roughly Mercy UK have helped in their history so far?
We have had over 300 young women go through the programme since we opened. And then there's the thousands of people that are helped through Keys to Freedom and our resources and our training, and so just through the homes, over 300.
And it's important to mention that maybe a person doesn't need the support of being in the actual residential place that you've got. There's also opportunities that you can help online with the Keys to Freedom course, which has been a massive success, hasn't it?
Yeah, we launched that about 4 years ago. Might even be 5 now. I've lost count. But yeah, it's really built on the principles that we have inside the home, and we've taken that out and put it into an 8-week workbook that anybody can use at home. Male, female, young, old, whatever stage they are in their walk with God. New believers, established believers alike. They can use this 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, a pen, a Bible, some time set aside, and it's a really, really good way to get some of these key discipleship principles into your life, and they work. We've seen them work inside the home for 15 years in the UK, for over 35 years as a global ministry. We know these principles are what helps people be free and stay free. So.
And it's probably difficult for you to imagine this, but what's next for Mercy? Could you maybe branch out to helping males? Could there be other angles there of helping other people across the UK maybe?
Well, we're really excited about the future. You know, for us, the last year in the pandemic has been weirdly quite... I wouldn't say the word exciting because, it's been really difficult. But sometimes out of difficult seasons comes something unexpected. And for us as a ministry, we had to close the home for a few months to send the residents back to where they've come from. And we ended up going online. So we provided the program that they would have accessed inside the home. We provided it as an online program instead. And whilst it had its restrictions and limitations, it really did just help bolster the residents whilst they were, at home. We've kept that element so that they're really supported before they come into the home and then once they're out. And what it's made us realise is that we can actually do a lot of the programme online, which means we can widen the scope for those who can come. So we're no longer restricting it to young women who have children perhaps who can't leave their lives for 6 months, there's a huge opportunity for lots of different people to be able to access the same materials. We want to basically take the walls off the home. Now, it's going to be called the Freedom Programme. We're really early stages, so don't out there get really excited and start
not yet
inundating us with phone calls about this. We're very early. It's going to be sometime next year, but we are looking to launch an online, like 100% online support programme called the Freedom Programme for people. So we're just watch this space.
Exciting stuff.